Hi everyone, it's Olivia. Welcome back to the Nomadics. Today we're talking about how I bought my school bus, where I found the bus, what I would have done differently, how did I know about the engine to get, and what inspired the dream. I was always interested in alternative living. My fiance Lucas and I have always talked about living in a tiny home or living on the road and traveling. We love going on road trips. So the idea must have sparked like maybe 5 years ago. We got really serious about that idea. We were looking into like Facebook Marketplace. We went to New Hampshire. We live in Maine. We drove to New Hampshire and looked at a bus one time. And I remember with that bus specifically, it was just too much rust underneath when I looked underneath, but that guy was desperate to sell it. And it was pretty expensive. I think it was like 13 grand for that thing. And it was like the seats were still in it. And he had it sitting for a long time. But, it just never worked out with like around here where buying a bus. And we didn't want to drive really far away to go and get a bus like some people do. Some people cross the country to go get their bus, especially buying a bus up in New England. You're gonna have a lot of rust on the bottom because of the salt. We were pretty serious about it during that time. We were living in an apartment and it was like one of those complex apartments. So the parking lot was a lot. It's not like we could have just like posted up there demoing our bus and remodeling it. It was like always in the back of our mind, wanting to do it. Now, during that time of living at that apartment, doing all that research on the bus, we were watching a lot of YouTube videos on bus renovation. I remember like we'd fall asleep watching YouTube videos about buses, and Lucas did a lot of research about like the engine of the bus. So with that research, he found that a DT466 engine is the best, and ideally before 2006. Actually, not ideally, and nothing but before 2006, because apparently after 2006 they changed the engine to a max force engine. And I'm not quite sure what that means, but apparently with the max force engine there was quite a bit of problems with those engines. So he wasn't interested in looking at anything but that DT466 engine. After we moved out of that apartment, moved into our house, which is where I am now, about a year ago. It lasted a good 6 months of us being like, okay, this is cool, having a house to live in on our own rather than an apartment with roommates. But we realized after taking a trip together around like New Year's time that we don't want to be in this one place. We love traveling. We want to experience all of the things that this country, this land, everywhere has to give us. We just kind of want to explore while we're young. We came up with that like realization together. I don't know, just after that trip we went to Texas, and when we came back we were like, we don't want to go back to our normal lives. So we started thinking about moving to Texas. We had visited Bandera, Texas, which is very remote. We stayed on a farm, and we just like felt so drawn to Texas. We were thinking about moving to Austin. For a couple of months, we're like looking at apartments in Austin, and I get it approved at work for me to work remotely from Austin. We really had this like all planned out, and we were about to do it. And since the house that we live in right now is Lucas's parents' house, they rent it out to us. We told his parents we're moving to Texas, and they were like, okay, we're gonna sell the house then. I don't want it to be sold to somebody else. And Lucas feels the exact same way. It's his childhood home. So then I spent some time looking into buying the house, going and looking at mortgages and all that. And it got extremely overwhelming with like the planning of moving to Texas and then buying the house at the same time those are two really big steps for somebody like me. So it got a little bit overwhelming. One night, I was particularly stressed out about it all and told Lucas, I honestly just want to get in a van and drive away and like go explore things. That's all I want right now. I don't want to be doing all this adult shit. So he comes out right after that saying, oh, I know of a guy selling a school bus right down the road. I was like, what? What? We've been planning Texas this whole time, and you know of this school bus down the road? We reached out to that guy, and this guy lives like 10 minutes away. And we drove by that house all the time. And I don't know how we missed it, but we missed the bus sitting right off the edge of the road every single time we would drive by that house. Super weird that now the bus is ours and it was sitting there this whole time. It was clear that the guy hadn't driven his bus in at least a year. I think it sat around for a lot more time before then. I don't know how long they had that bus for. After looking at it, and we're like, this is the exact engine that we want. It's that DT 466 engine. So we're like, we're very interested. Let's take it to a mechanic just to, you know, get a second opinion. We thought that was the smart decision. So we had him drive it to the mechanic and talked to the mechanic a couple of times. It was very hard to get a hold of him. The vibe was he didn't really care to do it, so he put it off for like a week. He was ignoring us or ignoring our calls. So I was like, I don't know how much I trust this guy. But the day that we went to go pick the bus up because we were gonna buy it, we talked to the guy and he's like, yeah, this is a great bus, you're gonna love it. This is a good deal too. And I trusted that. So we took the bus home and it was so crazy. It was kind of like we were like hopped up on adrenaline. We're like, we just bought a school bus. So that night we're like, let's go celebrate with some ice cream. And of course we went to an ice cream shop that's pretty far away. And on our way back home, we were about 5 minutes away from home. We're at an intersection and we just totally stopped in the middle of the road. And I was like, what are you doing, Lucas? He was driving and he's like, we just lost power. It like stalled in the middle of an intersection. And it was pretty scary. Obviously, like, you know, we just bought that bus. So then I'm thinking, oh my God, we just made like a huge mistake. And, you know, all those thoughts are like racing in your mind. It was intense. I was upset. This man pulls up in his car and he's like, you need help? And we're like, yeah, clearly. And he's like, oh, I work on school buses, so I can probably help. Like, what? That was just the craziest coincidence. This guy was like, I think it's your fuel line. And he pumped the fuel line and it started back up. And he followed us home to make sure that we got home safely. I'm like, oh, sweetest man ever. And yeah, after that, we were scared to drive it. And it happened 2 more times after, you know, we were like, let's try driving it again. It happened 2 more times after. So the bus is in the shop right now, getting that all fixed. When we bought the bus, one thing that I wish we did was bring the bus to the mechanic that we're at right now instead of that other one, because we actually talked to a few different ones trying to see who should we go to around here that can, you know, tell us if we should buy this bus. We judged that incorrectly when talking on the phone with those 3 different mechanics. So that's one thing, you know, before you buy your bus, like make sure you get a second opinion or a third opinion or a fourth. Just be smart and don't really trust what the previous owner of the bus is saying. We brought this bus home in May. That was 4 months ago now. We bought it for $8,000. We talked him down from 10. The previous owner had this bus renovated. Like he had the kitchen, he had like a sink, the cabinets built, this a fridge, cooktop, an AC unit, a table, a bed frame, a little composting toilet, really everything that you need he had in there. But why we gutted it was because he didn't really do like the bones correctly, meaning he didn't rip up that flooring, that rubber flooring, and then put the insulation down and then the flooring. On the walls, he just like kind of bumped them out 2 inches because he added that insulation and then walls on the outside of the metal that's underneath the windows. If you've seen those demo videos of school buses, you know what I'm talking about, where like underneath the windows, you cut that metal and there's insulation already in there. It's not good insulation though. You gotta rip that out and then put your rigid foam or whatever you're using in there. And then same with the ceiling. So he had just like put, I don't even know, some thin board, thin insulation up there on top, or I guess below the like the rivets, that metal ceiling. So when we tore that down, we're like, okay, let's take all these rivets off. And the insulation, it was so bad. It was not well insulated in any of those buses, I'm sure. So I'm glad that we did it, but the demo was like a month long maybe, and it took a lot more time. If the guy had renovated it correctly, you know, that would have been great. It would be saving us a lot of time. I'm still thankful for, you know, we got to do the whole process. We got to do the gutting process. Thank you guys so much for listening to this story. There was a lot packed in there. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I can get back to you. I'll see you guys next time.